Yeah, day 2 here in Las Vegas for the NFL Draft. Rounds 2 and 3 in the books on the sandwich day of this 3-day festivity. We're round 1 on opening night, 2 and 3, and then the draft concludes on Saturday. So let's bring in our group, our expert, Ryan Wilson, our NFL draft expert, our Super Bowl champion, 2 times in fact, Brian McFadden, and our 30-year NFL insider, Pete Prisco. Let me start with my draft guy. Winners on day 2. Who's at the top of your winners list?
This isn't going to be a sexy one, but I'm going to go to the Baltimore Ravens. They don't overthink it. They see guys that they like, that fit what they want to do, and they draft those guys. David Ojabo, towards Achilles at his pro day. He's a first-round talent. We've talked about it. He's just learning how to play football, and he is absolutely electric. Then they come back and get Travis Jones, defensive tackle out of UConn, insanely athletic, pushes the pocket consistently. Feel like Ravens guys. And EK, you have to stop the Bengals. How do you stop the Bengals offensively? You get after it on defense with athletic players, and I thought the Ravens did that on day 2.
They seem to know who they are, and the people who would fit what they do, they stay in their lane. How about you, B-Mac? Who's your winner?
My biggest winner is an individual, Desmond Ritter, going to the Atlanta Falcons. I love the situation. Granted, he might be a bit mad because he didn't go as high as he wanted to go, but he was the second quarterback to come off the board. And you look at the situation there in Atlanta currently, Marcus Mariota is the starting quarterback, but better believe the window of opportunity will be there for Desmond whenever he's ready to go out and perform. So I can see this individual, outside of Kenny Pickett, probably being the second quarterback to make his starting appearance early in his career.
You can make a lot of money at quarterback after your first contract. Ask Kirk Cousins about that one. Who's your biggest winner there, Pete?
The New England Patriots. And when you watch the Patriots the last couple years, one thing that stood out in a big way was a lack of speed. They didn't scare anybody. Well, now they have speed. You get Tyquan Thornton in the second round, a guy I love, the wide receiver out of Baylor. Then you get Marcus Jones out of Houston, the cornerback, who's an outstanding kick returner. And we know what Bill Belichick thinks about special teams. A slow team got really fast with 2 picks.
Marcus Jones also caught some passes at wide receiver, so he is versatile. He's just small, but Pete's absolutely right. He's an absolute athlete.
All right, the other side of that coin, what we didn't like, for lack of a better word, who are the losers today on day 2? Pete Prisco, you're first.
Oh, I think it's Malik Willis. I think, and you can probably lump all the quarterbacks in because we didn't see any go in the second round. There was a talk at some point that there would be a run on quarterbacks in the second round. It didn't happen. Teams waited. They sat there. They let the quarterback sit. And Malik Willis, who some people, and I mean a lot of people, thought that could go in the top 10, ends up going in the middle of the third round.
None of those people have a say or a draft pick, though. B-Mac.
Well, my biggest loser in day 2 is Lamar Jackson. What did the Baltimore Ravens do to help their young quarterback? They traded away Hollywood Brown at his request, by the way. But what did they do to bring in more depth at the wide receiver position? We understand who Mark Andrews is. He's the number 1 pass catcher. But at some point in time, you got to go out and find a way to provide quality resources for your outstanding quarterback to rely on. They got Bateman, who they drafted in the first round a year ago, but he's a young player. I mean, right now, their top 3 wide receivers, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and James Prochet. Anybody?
I do this for a living, and I'm not sure I would have named that third guy off the top of my head.
James Prochet is going to be a good player.
Right, but
potentially.
You have a lot of potential.
Potentially. My thing is this: when you have that type of talent at the quarterback position, you should not have the dead last wide receiving unit in your division.
To be fair, he's got a tight end that can catch the ball.
No. You got to have receivers.
I understand what you're saying. You want to get him a deep threat with Mark Andrews, who's a very good player. What about you, draft guru? What do you say here?
I'm going to go in B-Mac's wake here and go with the Chicago Bears. Now, Justin Fields would love to have the offensive weapons that Lamar Jackson has, and he doesn't have a lot of offensive weapons. They drafted 2 defensive guys. They went with Kyler Gordon, great player, Jaquan Brisker, great player, the safety out of Penn State. Then they come back with Velus Jones, who's a really good football player. He's going to be 25 in a few days. He's undersized, but he's a burner. But as he solved the offensive issues that team was plagued by throughout the year last year, new coach, new GM, I understand that. But I maybe would have gone at least with 2 offensive players here. They went 2 on the defensive side. Their head coach is a defensive guy. I get it. But Justin Fields probably doesn't feel great right now.
All right, what about a surprise from day 2? There are a few of them. I can see a couple of different ways to go here. Brian McFadden, you're first. What's the surprise of day 2?
Sam Howell didn't get drafted. I felt like Ritter would go before Howell, Malik Willis, but I did not expect to see Matt Corral go before Sam
And
Howell.
by his home state
yes,
team.
to the Carolina Panthers. That was a huge surprise. I like the talent that Sam Howell brings. I think he has the leadership skill set, the leadership qualities, and to see the Carolina Panthers pass on a hometown kid to go get a quarterback that has a lot of character questions was surprising for me.
Pete, you're surprised?
Brian Robinson going to the Washington Commanders. I mean, he's a running back. When you have Antonio Gibson, you felt like that they could go another direction, but they wanted to get more physical. They really did. And Brian Robinson's a physical running back that can help move the chains. And look, you want to make it easier on Carson Wentz. They got a receiver in the first round. Now you get a running back to pound the football a little bit. I was a little shocked, but then again, I'm not.
The surprise for you, Ryan Wilson.
Malik Willis was a surprise. Nakobe Dean was a surprise. You talked about those guys. But I'm going to follow Pete and talk about the running backs. James Cook went to the Bills. James Cook is a fantastic player. He's not Dalvin Cook. I probably wouldn't have taken him on day 2. I know obviously some teams liked him there. But if you're going to Buffalo, I feel like you want a back that's different than what you already have. They have Devin Singletary. I'm not sure if James Cook is a huge upgrade or a differentiator than what we have already in Devin Singletary. They have Zach Moss. It just feels like another running back that fills that mold as opposed to getting an Isaiah Spiller, a Kyron Williams later in the draft, someone that can help you in a different way.
2 days down, 3 rounds down. We're going to start with round 4 on the final day of the draft on Saturday. You studied this. This is your Super Bowl. Who is your best player available as we head on to the final day of the draft?
Based on my big board coming into this thing, it's not even close. It's Sam Howell. Sam Howell is my QB2. You sort of feel like if you're trading back up in the Carolina Panthers, maybe he makes better sense in the long term. He's a little sturdier. He has probably slightly better arm. Showed that he can win consistently at UNC, and the off-field issues aren't there. Didn't happen, so he's going to be the best available guy. He went from a potential round 1 guy coming into this year and now going to be a day 3 guy. We see it happen all the time. This year, we'll see how it works out for Sam Howell, but I thought he would be a top 40 pick, and here we are.
All right, you can second the motion or go in a different direction. Brian McFadden, your top best available day 3 player.
Isaiah Spiller, physical downhill runner, a guy that has put up numbers in a pro-style offense there at Texas A&M with under Jimbo Fisher. Seeing some of the running backs that have come off the board, I'm surprised to see Isaiah still on the board. So that's my top focus when you look at what we potentially could see in tomorrow's draft.
All right, who would get the Pete and greet and be on top of your board?
I'm going to go with Zach Tom, the offensive lineman from Wake Forest. Really played well at left tackle, really handled Jermaine Johnson when he matched up well with him. A lot of teams think he can go inside, even be a center, where he's played some for Wake Forest. He's a versatile offensive lineman, good player. Zach Tom, my guy.
I'm not surprised that with 2 days of calling a lot of edge rushers and cornerbacks and that kind of thing, that your best available is offense, 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 skill position, and then, of course, from Wake Forest. Boy, it has been an awful lot of fun. Day 2, rounds 2 and 3 in the books from Las Vegas. Still one more day to go, and it's going to be wild, it's going to be interesting, and we'll, of course, have your full coverage.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.